G'day and welcome to Aussievision. I'm Dale and we're back. We're back from our break after the national final and selection season. We got all 37 songs and we just needed to have a little bit of a breather there because it's that really interesting time during the Eurovision season where there's just a lot of, conjecture and conversation about who's going to win, where am I ranking songs or where are people ranking them, who do we predict is going to get out of the semi-finals, what do the odds say? So all that commentary, which is really fun to talk about, and the analysis of it all, people have been in overdrive. So we kind of let all that noise happen, including us. We've been doing lots of stuff for Aussievision there. On top of that, we have the pre-parties are happening, so we're starting to see some live performances of some artists we hadn't seen before, including our very own Gojo, who's over in Europe with his promotional campaign, which is fantastic to see. Now, we're going to touch on the pre-parties, and we're also going to hear from Gojo himself, because each week we're going to have a diary update, an audio diary update from Gojo, an exclusive Aussievision podcast offering. We've had this in the past from Andrew Lambrou, and we really loved hearing what they were up to each week. And so it gives us an insight into what's happening behind the scenes in their own words, not in a kind of formal interview format. So looking forward to hearing his update. Now, the other big news that happened was the commentators for Australia. Courtney and Tony Armstrong were announced as our new Eurovision commentary hosts on SBS. Now, for Europeans or those outside of Australia, this may not seem like a big deal, but it really is. This is only the third time it's happened since we've had our own commentators going over there after the Terry Wogan era. So we've had Julia and Sam, we had Joel and Miff, and now we have a new era, which is Courtney and Tony. Now, a lot of opinions around this, of course, it is Eurovision fans, but we sat down with Courtney and Tony to have a little chat, so that'll be coming up. We've also been talking to a lot of Eurovision artists over the last few weeks, and we've got a couple of little snippets from those interviews today from Emmy from Ireland and Adonxs from Czechia as well. And finally, Mike joins the podcast. He's listened to all 37 songs now. We had a bit of a listen-watch kind of afternoon together with maybe a glass of wine or two there. And we'll play you the kind of his initial thoughts and his predictions about who will get out of semi-final 1 for this episode, with semi-final 2 to come. All right, well, that's the intro. Let's get cracking. Right, as I mentioned last week, Courtney and Tony Armstrong were announced as the commentators for SBS for Eurovision from 2025 onwards. Now, most people will know Courtney from around the world because she is quite the superstar. She was runner-up on RuPaul's Drag Race. She won Celebrity Big Brother UK. She's been on a bunch of shows here like Dancing with the Stars. She also competed in Eurovision Australia Decides 2019 with this banger. Now, she came fourth with Fight for Love. Great staging presence, I must say. And that was quite a difficult Australia Decides. We had Kate Miller-Heidke win. We had Electric Fields come second. And then we had Shepherd come third. Now, all three of those have been involved in Eurovision some way. Shepherd a ride as a Milkshake Man. Electric Fields went. Kate went. And now Courtney, well, she is the commentator for SBS. For those who don't know Tony Armstrong, he used to play Australian rules football. But after playing, he got into a broadcast career, very much known for ABC Breakfast as a sports presenter, think for BBC for the UK. So became quite a personality, won a Logie, which is like our big TV awards here. Then he's gone on to host a bunch of other shows as well and do podcasts, and he is a big name in Australian TV. So it's quite a coup to get Tony. However, a lot of people kind of do sort of go, well, Tony, he's a sports presenter. Does that make sense for Eurovision? And we asked him what he thought about that. There are some people going, Tony, then sport background and coming into Eurovision, is this something that comes together? Like, what do you think you can bring to the Eurovision sphere?
Well, it is a big competition with millions of eyeballs looking at it, right? That's every single global sporting competition. So there's already that in common. But I think as well, obviously Courtney has got more of a history and an affinity with it, but I've really come to enjoy it as well. And I think the way I will look at it will be through fresher, newer eyes. And there are going to be viewers at home that aren't rusted on either. There's going to be viewers at home who are going to be watching it for the first time. And if I can ask the questions or I can point out the things that they're seeing and they're like, well, why is no one talking about that? I mean, that's only making the broadcast more rounded. So whilst I would never profess to be an expert at like the high end, like Courtney, I would absolutely say, yes, I called you an expert. Yes, I would say I will be able to be a conduit to a big portion of our viewership who also are like watching on going,
especially because we want
what's happening,
eyeballs.
And I think me bouncing off Courtney, asking those questions is doing the service of the viewer who doesn't know at home.
Yeah, because when you get two people who like have too much inside knowledge,
then it gets deep and like it's like a hat on a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
And it's like awesome if you know what's happening, but you can very quickly ostracize a whole heap of your audience.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my biggest value add will be.
Tony's the people's
champ, I suppose. I mean, I've said that, but no one's pushed back.
I was a really big fan about the way that they, decided to take on that answer because it's really true. We have to think about this as non-Eurovision fans or non-fans who kind of follow it a lot and are listening to a podcast like this. We need more eyeballs on Eurovision in Australia. We always do. The audiences aren't quite as big as they used to, but they're still big. Obviously, when we have a song with a better chance, we get more numbers on there. But we need to bring new people to the contest and bring people back to the contest. Doesn't mean we need to dumb it down, but we definitely need someone who can be that kind of vessel or accessible kind of promotion of it. And that's already worked. Courtney and Tony are both big names and they were on every single mainstream channel spruiking Eurovision, and that's on top of some great promotion by Milkshake Man. If you want Australia to compete in Eurovision, it has to be worth SBS's resourcing and time. And the best way to win that over is by good ratings, getting advertisers on board, and you need to have names like this. So it's going to be great that Courtney's kind of definitely investing in time and really like being sort of more the expert. And now we have Tony, who's going to be more the kind of everyday man and is certainly going to get into it. Saying that, they'll take it seriously. Give them a chance. They're professional broadcasters. They've got great chemistry. See how they go before you make a decision on this in both ways. I think it's a great opportunity, but I will still reserve my judgment about how good it is until it actually happens. I like the idea. I like the strategy. I like their attitude. And so I think it can really work, but we have to give it a chance. Some of the commentary online was really quite awful, I have to say. Some fans really need to rethink about how they kind of comment on this sort of stuff, and particularly a lot of stuff about him being an ex-AFL player. Now, I get that, but he's done a lot more than that. And we have an ex-Aussie Rules musical artist. Gojo played Waffle, which is like the West Australian AFL league at a high level. So we are having an artist that just because someone's been in sport doesn't mean they can't do something else. So open your minds up, be willing, be positive, and then if it's a disaster, then you can have a go. Talking of which, we did actually ask them how they're going to handle this constructive criticism. Now, look, my final question for you is: has anyone prepared you for the Eurovision fandom? Now, look, Eurovision fans are the best fans in the whole world, but they're not shy of an opinion on everything and everyone associated with Eurovision, including commentary. Has anyone given you a preparation? Are you ready for that? The love and maybe some of the constructive criticism.
Well, I mean, both of us kind of live an existence where people
Lots of opinions.
have been very forthcoming in their opinions, good, bad, and indifferent. So this is no different, I don't think.
Actually, maybe I'm being naive. Hopefully not. But I feel like the Eurovision fandom, although opinionated, is more like on the constructive side. There's like much more of a supportive, sort of non-toxic fandom, which I really love. You know, I come from the drag race world, and back in season 6, it was, it's sort of some small factions of the fandom have become toxic, but Eurovision, I've just found a lot of love.
Now, I love that they're going in with real positive attitudes, maybe a little naive, who knows, but you know what? I like the attitude. They're positive, and let's see how it all works out. But I'm excited. They're excited, and bring on a new era. Now, if you want to see the full interview, it is on our YouTube channel, and we'll have the details in our show notes. Well, Gojo has been over in Europe doing his promotion for Milkshake Man. He's already performed at Eurovision concert in Amsterdam. He crashed a gig of Shepherd, who are the co-writers of the song, who were performing in Netherlands as well. He performed at the iconic GAY Club. You can work out what that stands for, in London on the weekend. I know that club very well. I did go many, many, many times back in the day. And then he did the London Eurovision pre-party as well. Now, he's been getting great response from the crowd and fans there. Let's have a little listen to one of his performances.
I say sweet, sweet, you say yum, yum, sweet, sweet, yum, yum, sweet, sweet, yum, yum. When I say sweet, sweet, you say yum, yum, sweet, sweet, yum, yum, sweet, sweet, yum, yum.
What I love about this is you can hear that call response work so well. As soon as we heard that song, it was like, that's going to work. That's going to work at Eurovision. So we're going to hear that call response in Basel, and it's going to pop through that TV screen. So that's very, very exciting. Now, I mentioned at the start of the show, he has done a diary update for us. So let's have a little listen to what Gojo's been up to.
Hey Aussievision, it's Gojo here. I wanted to give you guys a quick update on everything that's been happening, all things Eurovision. So we are now in Europe, currently in London, and in the past 6 days, we've been to 6 different countries. So as you know, spending a lot of time at airports, meeting a lot of the other contestants, which are all amazing, very talented, and very supportive of each other. We've all been singing each other's songs because, as you know, every song in this year's contest is an earworm. And been hanging out with all the contestants, and been trying lots of different foods and things like that, especially getting around the European cultures. Also been doing a bunch of rehearsals, which has been going really well. And the pre-parties have been a lot of fun, been meeting a lot of fans, especially playing for the first time in front of a Eurovision crowd in Amsterdam. Just seeing how receptive everyone is and how much everyone loves the song and screaming it back to me. Especially the yum yum chant. It's hilarious. I love it every time. And it's extremely loud from everyone. The London pre-party was also really awesome. Met lots of people, been doing lots of interviews. And also the night before, I think it was at 1 a.m., we had to play Heaven Nightclub, which is the biggest gay club in London. And it was so much fun. Met and got a bunch of photos with a heap of drag queens too, which was really fun and cool. And yeah, so I'll also be seeing you guys next week with another update from Mr. Gojo, the Milkshake Man. Thank you guys.
Well, as I mentioned, we've spoken to a lot of Eurovision artists over the last few weeks. Now, Liv from the team spoke to Adonxs from Czechia, and she covered a lot of fantastic stuff. It was such a good interview. Make sure you check it out if you can. The link will be in the show notes. Now, he covered doing the acoustic set that he did in Malta, the dance break he has in the song, and also his connections, even tenuous, to Australia. Let's have a listen.
I'm curious to know, so you performed an acoustic version of your song at the Maltese national final, Mesk, this year. How did that come about? Was it your idea to just give us like a little nibble of your song and keep us keen, or how did that happen?
So looking back at it, we understand that it was maybe a little bit of a bold move, and a risky move. Obviously there was no national selection for Czechia this year. It was an internal selection. So we wanted to have some live performance that, public and audience can listen to and see how it works live. But we also knew that all of this, music video, the full production is still being finished. So we didn't want to reveal too much. And the idea was mutual. I think it came from the delegation, and I absolutely agree with it because it was, I don't want to say stupid, but it was just like the other way around. Like, obviously, I had the same question, like, why am I releasing acoustic version of a song that you never heard? Like, that doesn't make sense. And I loved it about it. I was like, let's try things differently. And obviously the song was written as a ballad. So in its core, this is how it started. So in that sense, it does make sense to me. And it did. And I love that version. The acoustic version is a very valid version for me and will be released in a couple of weeks too. But so this is how we came up to it.
Yeah, I love that. It was very bold, and I can say in all my years of following Eurovision, I don't think I've ever seen an artist go for that move before, but we loved it. Speaking of, I guess, your actual version of the song that is a little bit different, it has a dance break. Now, there's lots of divas that have had amazing dance breaks at Eurovision in the past. Would you say you were inspired by any of them in particular to have your moment to serve on the international stage?
Absolutely, and maybe not just the Eurovision divas, but like pop girlies nowadays and in the history. I think dance breaks are ultimately linked with pop music, and for me that's a part of performance that I adore, that I love and enjoy very much. So I felt like I don't want to go just with a ballad. I want something where I can fully experience myself and explore and perform. And I must say the very first demo, even the piano one, had a placeholder for something like a dance break thing. So it wasn't a question for me to not have a dance break. I was like, I want this for sure. And then it was just a matter of how we can actually make this work and how we can be creative around it. And maybe that's what we actually did. We changed the time signature, which isn't very common for pop music either. So it's maybe another bold decision. But I guess when else to experiment when not for Eurovision?
Since we are Aussies, we always like to ask everyone this question. Have you ever been to Australia, or do you have any connections to Australia by any chance?
I said it to Gojo last night. I haven't been myself. I mean, I want to visit. And I do have some distant family members that moved there. I believe it's a cousin of my grandma, and I believe they moved there in 90s. We're not really in touch. My mom, well, I'm not in touch. My mom is, very briefly, and I think they were discussing maybe a visit or something. But they are also very old at this point, so we would have to figure it out how that can work out. I definitely adore Australian music scene, like so yeah, all of it. Kylie and you are delivering great pop stuff, so yeah, just because of that, I need to visit.
What I love and find difficult about these interviews is that you just get to know these artists so much more, and then you just, I don't know, I feel far more attached to them afterwards. And if I do or don't like their song, it definitely makes a difference. And so maybe if I've ranked a song lower, not saying I did here, but if I have, then I'm like, I want to rank it higher. He seems so lovely. So great interview there with Liv and him. Now, Sam from the Aussievision team spoke to Emmy from Ireland. Well, she's from Norway, but competing for Ireland, of course. Nothing wrong with that. Australians have done it for others, and that's a very normal thing to happen in Eurovision. So no judgment there or whatsoever. Now, she's so sweet, and her voice almost sounds higher as she speaks than she sings. It's really quite incredible, and she's just so sweet. Now, Sam spoke to her about the staging of Basel, which should be very interesting there as well. Plus, why she wrote a song about a Soviet space dog that was shot into outer space. And she shares her kind of stronger Australian connections as well.
So your song has a very unique theme to it. Can you tell us why you decided to write a song about Laika, the Soviet space dog who went to space in 1957?
Yes. So I've always been very like an animal lover and just a lover of life, and I think it's very sad. And when I get sad, I really like to write songs about it to get those emotions out, and learning about her story throughout the years, I just really wanted to write a scenario for her where she doesn't die, but where she lives on and is happy instead and is having her own party.
So the creative artistic creator for your Eurovision performance is Marvin Dietmann, who's also helping create Australia's performance. Can you give us some hints about what your Eurovision performance will look like?
Yeah, well, I would like to keep kind of the heart or the core of the Euro song in Ireland show, but since the stage is bigger, then make it bigger. But yeah, it will probably be space vibes, still. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I thought you had a really good Eurosong performance, so can't wait to see what you do in Basel. Do you have any connections to Australia, and have you been here before, and any plans to come and visit in the near future?
Actually, my uncle is Australian, and my cousin is half Australian, and she's in Australia right now as we speak. So that's really cool. I've never been, but I have I've gotten like gifts from them. So every year I have these koalas on my Christmas tree that I've gotten from them. And I would very much like to go one day. It seems so like beautiful, and you guys have so many animals. Oh, so yeah.
Yeah, we do have a lot of cute animals here, that's for sure. Do you know where in Australia your relatives live? Like which city or which town? Do you know?
I think most of them are in Melbourne. Yeah, but I think
I
they were
live in
like
Melbourne as well.
right a
so-
little around. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
I mean, she has family here in Australia, and that seems pretty close to me. So if she does well, we're definitely claiming her as one of ours somehow. And if she doesn't do as well, she's just Norwegian Irish. Now, Mike had a bit of a trip to Japan, a bit of a boys' trip that he had while I was here slaving away looking after the cats. But on his return, we did sit down and watch the two semi-finals in the running order, including the Big Five and Host Nation, just to see how it all flowed out. And it was a chance for Mike to watch all songs because he hasn't seen all the songs. He hasn't heard all the songs. So it was his first time to listen to them all. Now, he knew some, of course. We do know that he absolutely loves Spain. That's already a given. But we sat down with a bottle of wine and watched semi-final one. Now, afterwards, I asked him what his favourites were, and then we both shared what our qualifiers were. It's a little bit raw in the audio, a little bit old days of Aussievision, so do bear with us, but you can hear his thoughts and some of mine in this clip. All right, so before we get into who we think is going to qualify, what were your personal favourites out of that?
Look, first and foremost, interesting semi-final. There's a real range of songs there. Very interesting semi-final. I don't know if it's the biggest quality I've ever seen, but certainly some decent songs in there. Personal favourite of the competing songs, we're leaving Big Five out of this. Yeah, Poland, loved. Yeah, loved Poland. I thought Sweden was good. Yep, Sweden was pretty good. San Marino, because I do like that. And Netherlands. I thought Netherlands was quality, real quality song.
Not Albania? No. It was nice. Next one down for you?
It was fun. Yeah, probably on the next one.
Okay, cool.
It's not something I would actively seek out and listen to, but I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would say out of the ones, Poland, probably going to agree pretty much with you. Poland, Sweden, definitely. Maybe not San Marino. I'd swap that for Albania and then have Netherlands as well. Ooh, Cyprus, I like.
Cyprus was good.
Cyprus has been probably the grower for me, and I think it's a great lineup.
Good slot
for it. It's probably the one that's it's impressed me more than maybe when I first listened to it.
And we're leaving out the Big Five and the host.
Yeah, I guess out of those ones though, I guess for you Spain,
yeah, 100% Spain. Really, really enjoyed that. Probably the most I've enjoyed Italy.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm kind of appreciating the song more. I hear it. Yeah, and I thought Switzerland was beautiful. Delightful. Yeah, delightful.
I enjoyed Switzerland a lot more. Switzerland I enjoyed more than Italy.
Very, very beautiful.
I've got 8 qualifiers and 3 to fit into 2 spots.
I've got 9 qualifiers and 2 to probably try and take in.
Well, let's go through your 9. And I'll tell you if I've got them
in order, just from the running order.
Just from the running order.
Poland.
I've got Poland.
Yep. Poland because of the great votes. I think Estonia.
I've got that.
He's got enough. I think he's got a good sense of humor about it. Ukraine.
I've got Ukraine.
Not that I particularly like the song, but we know how voting patterns go. Sweden. Yeah. Rusted on. Wouldn't be surprised if it even wins the semi-final. Norway.
I've got Norway. That was the one I had a slight question, but I still put it through. That'll get through on the 8.
Now, I'm kind of a bit of a toss-up, but I'll go with it. I think San Marino will get through.
See, that's one I don't have in the moment.
Because Italy is in that semi-final.
It's only 12 points.
Plus, Albania is in there as well. Generally, they'll vote for each other. I'm putting Albania through as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't imagine that's got too many issues.
I've got that.
Netherlands.
I've got that.
Should get through pretty easily. And I'm giving it Cyprus.
Yep. So we've basically got this. I've got 8 of that, not 9 of yours. So you've got 9 and you've got 2 that you're deciding on for the last spot.
Yes.
Who are the 2?
Well, so I think Iceland isn't without a shout. It opens the show, but it's a long way back. When you finish that semi-final, I didn't really remember Iceland or like it a lot. Belgium, I think, is definitely a shout.
Yeah.
It's about the staging there. And then I'm going to say Azerbaijan would be the other one. I think that is a good quality pop song, but I need to see it live and they need to pull it off.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you there. I've still got San Marino in my mix of, so I've got 3, which is Iceland. I agree. Slot, as we're saying, it's a really good opener. It is. But actually, the running order does hurt it, I think.
I agree. It's a long way back.
It's a long way back. Think of though, you're going to come back in again to the recap. They're going to be jumping around. You will be reminded immediately afterwards. And I think you either like that or you won't. Hopefully, if the kids stay up late enough. I got Belgium is in danger. And I think that's probably going to be a surprise for a lot of people.
They tend to be over-egged every year, don't they, the Belgians? But
they're on the edge there.
Me,
I think San Marino might have limitations.
I agree. I do. Yeah, I like it because I love a good football chant. And I love Sanremo, so I do love it.
And those are my 3 to fit into the other 2. So pretty much with you. And I did have the wild card almost being Azerbaijan if somehow they pull that together.
Yeah.
But to me, the dead ducks are Slovenia, Portugal, Croatia.
But we always underestimate Portugal. Maybe that has got a charm to it that maybe we're not seeing.
No,
I will agree.
So with you here in Ukraine,
Slovenia, as lovely as the sentiment was, it was a long 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Portugal doesn't ring my bell. And Croatia, I can't see that really adding legs.
If I had to choose, I would choose San Marino missing out and Iceland and Belgium getting in.
I'll definitely put Belgium through, probably ahead of San Marino. I think Iceland's pushing it uphill.
It is.
I think it's a bit
It's
tight. It's on a trick pony, and they're a bit annoying.
I was kind of very much on the Iceland trying to getting through, but watching that now in the semi-final, I've got a little bit more worried for it. Yeah. All right, well, that semi-final one.
We'll be back to semi-final 2. Looking forward to that. That was an interesting semi-final.
That was an interesting
Yeah,
semi.
interesting.
I don't know if I liked it overall. I liked it, but it was a bit.
You're going to be there.
No, I did. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of good songs there, but it's
Hey, you're not going to get a refund on your ticket. No, it's a bit like
it's an interesting running order. There's parts that are really good and parts that I'm sure totally fly.
And there were songs that look like they go kind of head to head as far as genre goes. You know, like Belgium and Cyprus, I thought sort of go head to head.
Yeah.
Whereas you got things that have
Portugal is getting impacted by Ukraine and Italy.
Whereas you got things, for example, like Estonia stands out, Sweden stands out, has those kind of jokey, funny kind of entries.
Yeah.
Albania for its unique kind of ethnic kind of vibe thing.
Yeah, that really pops.
Really, really.
That really pops just with all those songs.
And personal favorite, I thought Netherlands. I really thought that was fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, very good quality. Well, all right,
Done.
72.
Hey.
Now, if you can make sense of that, then yeah, you can see that we agreed very much on semi-final 1, but coming down to a few there, and we did have some question marks about Belgium there. So I think it's one of those songs with Belgium where I think if they get the staging right, it'll be like, what were we even thinking about? But as Belgium often do, if they don't get that staging right, perhaps that could be the big miss this year. Let's hope not, because I really like the song, but we'll see how that all pans out. Now, Mike will be sharing his rankings, and I'll decide if I'm sharing mine, but Mike's definitely going to be sharing his in our Patreon. So we've done this in the past for our sort of review and ranks, but this will be a special Mike edition on the Patreon. Those who have joined up, that'll be out over the next few days at some point. We'll give you an exact date. And for those who haven't joined up, you can find the link in the show notes, and we'll have a lot more Patreon content coming up now that we're back again. Now, the other thing coming up is that we will be doing 5 different episodes going through all the different songs. Now, this will be the Big 5 and host as one. It'll be first half of the semi-final as another episode. The second half of that first semi-final is another, and so on for the other 2 as well. They'll be with each sort of main member of the Aussievision team will be joining me to go through those episodes, where we go through each song one by one, look at the benefits of it, how it could go, our own personal thoughts for the semi-finals, if it can qualify, for the big kind of chances, can it win, and we'll be getting the first one out over Easter weekend, and more will follow. So watch out for that one. Now, thanks so much for joining us for another week. We'll be back next week with more discussion, more Gojo diaries, and more to hear about everything in the Eurovision world. Catch you later.